2006, a star-studded Argentinian team travelled to Bolivia for a World Cup qualifier. Superstars like Lionel Messi took to the field to play a team of unknowns in a complete mismatch. But the final score was Bolivia 6, Argentina 1. How did that happen? Well, the explanation gets right to the heart of sporting performance. Because you see, the game was played in La Paz, one of the highest capital cities in the world. And the Argentinians had only arrived the day before, so unlike the Bolivians, their bodies didn't have time to acclimatise. But what does that mean? Well, it's all about how effectively oxygen is delivered to the tissues of your body under different conditions. So, watching this right now, oxygen is being picked up in your lungs by red blood cells and distributed effectively to the tissues of your body. But if I were to magically transport you to La Paz, where the partial pressure of oxygen is lower because of the altitude, that process would be less effective, and your tissues would soon start to become starved of oxygen. If I asked you to run around, you would quickly become exhausted, like the Argentinians did. Now, your tissues would respond to this by sending out a distress signal, telling the body to start making more EPO. EPO is a growth factor which would stimulate the production of more red blood cells in your bone marrow. And so after a few days of altitude, your red blood cell count rises and your tissue oxygen levels get restored. In other words, your body has acclimatized. But the real benefit of this for sport comes when you return to sea level, because for a few days, those extra red blood cells are still on in your circulation. And so you have increased physical endurance because you can deliver more oxygen to your muscles. And that's precisely why you hear about athletes training at altitude in preparation for a sports event. In fact, they don't even have to go to altitude anymore. You can just get an oxygen tent, which mimics low oxygen conditions. And spending a few minutes in one of these each day is a perfectly legal way to boost your red blood cell count and hopefully your sporting performance. Or you can do it illegally. Lance Armstrong famously cheated his way to glory by injecting himself with recombinant EPO prior to races. More recently, after the Winter Olympics, the Russian athletic team are under investigation for the illegal use of noble gases like argon in their training methods, gases which Russian scientists have figured out stimulated the production of EPO in the body. A few years ago, scientists invented an artificial blood carrying synthetic oxygen-carrying molecules, but almost immediately, the drug testers from the World Anti-Doping Agency had to start testing for this in athletes, such was the potential for misuse. And the testers admit that there are probably several other blood doping strategies they don't even know about. Now, back in 2006, it was all natural for the Bolivians as they gleefully thrashed their illustrious but exhausted opponents. But sadly for Bolivia, they're not allowed to play all their games at home, and so they've never actually qualified for the World Cup finals because they're not very good at football. But in La Paz, 12,000 feet above sea level, they are no dopes. In fact, you could say that winning there is in their blood.